Welcome to the next education webinar. Okay, so in this entire session, if you have any kinds of doubts or any kinds of questions or queries, or be anything, please feel free to use the chat box or the message box to ask anything. So today's topic is from stimulus to mastery, applying Gagné's 9 events of instruction in the 21st century classroom. Clear? Yeah, good evening, sir. So here we can see the thing is stimulus to mastery. Can anyone tell me what is stimulus? Yeah, teachers, please give responses so that it will be an interactive session rather than a radio. I want it to be a two-way communication. So please respond. Can anyone tell me what is stimulus or stimuli? Okay, any answers? I think we have. Yes, Veena Devi, ma'am. You can give your answer.
Yes, good afternoon, good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Sir, stimulus means to do such type of activity which actually provoke, which create the people to response, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, that is the stimulus.
Yeah, even thank you, ma'am. Even we got some answers in the chat book. Yes, that's something that provokes or something that is responses. You can say we all are familiar with stimulus of a touch me not plant. If you touch it, it will bring the its leaves together. So it is stimulus is nothing but that brings the specific function reaction. So if you give something, it's like a reaction or reactivity of whatever the information that you're giving. So for the classroom point of view or for the students point of view, it is very important for the teacher to stimulate the students first, because be it maybe anything, like maybe they are stuck with the previous classroom or the previous session in their mind, or they are stuck with their brain at the ground or in a movie or at home or somewhere. So first thing is we have to stimulate them, and slowly we can then teach the concepts or whatever the skills what it is there in the curriculum. Then we can make them the masters in that. So it is an entire process from stimulus to mastery. So in this entire thing, we are first triggering them or giving them the challenge, and the end goal is to make them proficient in that particular thing and bring the confidence in that. I can see a hand raise. Dwarika Singh, ma'am. Yeah, please. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay, then fine. So our entire goal is to trigger the stimulus and make them the master in that. So that is the process. And in this process, how to do this process and what are the implementation of this process in the classroom is what we will discuss in this entire session. Yeah. So then you can see there we have a image of blueprint of an house. So for typical construction of anything like any project, the will start with a blueprint. So this is the blueprint of an house. So can anyone tell me what is the importance of blueprint in this construction? Can anyone just give me the answer of in the chat also? It's fine. What is the importance of blueprint in the construction? Yes, ma'am. You can unmute your.
Yes, sir, it gave us the hello.
Yes, ma'am. Please
Yes,
continue.
sir, it gave us the idea to here we are talking about construction, so it gave us the rough idea to construct something, right? Without the blueprint it will become complicated for anyone to do the work, right?
Yes, ma'am. Correct. Small correction, like it will give the accurate idea of the construction. Yes, as Afrin ma'am said, yes, it also provides framework to the design. So before even keeping the effort or a physical effort on the ground, so we have to chart it out. That charting or the keeping the idea on the paper with the exact dimensions, measurements, and everything, what are the required details and everything is the blueprint. So if you have a blueprint, it will act you as a guide whenever in the process, whenever you have any queries or any hurdles or anything, you can come back to the blueprint, check the blueprint, and you can go front. Similarly, we also need a blueprint for the teaching. So that blueprint is what the Gagne's 9 events of instruction. So blueprint signifies its function in detailed actionable guide for creating something very complex and ensuring that everyone in that process is understanding or everyone is getting the idea from the blueprints. So similarly, for the learning experience, we also need a blueprint. That blueprint is given by the Gagnes. Okay, who is this Gagne? And what's its weird name? It is like a French pronunciation, but we are using English pronunciation. Who is this Gagne? Let's say. So, Robert M. Gagne is American educational psychologist. So, he also known for giving us something known as the conditions of learning. That is not the topic for the today. We'll discuss this sometime later. He gave like a 9 events of instructions. So, he did this, or this particular theory came into existence in 1960 or 1965. Sorry, 1965, or somewhere around 1960 or 1965. But now it is 2025. So if you calculate, it's like 65 years ago. So some psychologists gave a process that is 65 years ago and still it is relevant. So why it is relevant? We'll see about that. Why it is relevant? Because of 3 reasons. One is it focus on the mental cognitive process or mental ability of the children, how they are perceiving information, how they are absorbing information, rather than the just teaching from the teacher point of view. It thinks from the student point of view. It gives you the idea, okay, how to give information so that the student can easily absorb them, student can easily perceive them, student can easily use them in their entire career or the learning pathway. So this is how it should be. So he typically he moved from the teacher-centric process to student-centric process, the learning process. And the second reason is flexibility. So in the later part of the session, we are going to discuss the 9 events. So it's not like, okay, this is a very rigid one. You have to follow, okay, one after second, then third, then fourth. So it's not that. You can use it n number of ways. It according to, because no other no, if you take one classroom in all over India or all over world, that classroom will not be as other classroom. Each classroom is on its own, it's a different thing. So it's like a spectrum. At one end you will have different kinds of students, at other end you will have different kinds of students. So one kind of philosophy which is accurately possible in any one classroom, we cannot replicate that in the other classroom. That's why we don't need a rigid model. We need a flexible model, flexibility model. So this can Gagne 9 events allows us to use that flexibility. So that's the second reason. Then it is a closed loop. For example, this will come into sense when we are discussing the actually when I'm giving the names of the events, then you can able to recollect. So just for now, take this information. There is something known as learning objectives or the objectives that you or nothing but what they are going to learn in this particular session or the day. And there's known as information, presenting content or presenting information. Then there is something known as assessment. So these learning objects are completely aligned with the content, and then they are aligned with the assessment. So it is like complete alignment is there. This is known as instructional alignment is there. So it's not like, okay, I'm giving some other things in the content, but the assessment will be something else and the learning objective will be something else. So it's like a complete chaos. But in this model, that chaos will not be there. It is like a complete closed loop in system. So due to these 3 reasons, okay, what are those? Focus on the cognitive process. Second thing, flexibility. Third thing is instructional alignment, perfect alignment of the objectives to the assessment to the content. So due to these three reasons, even after 65 years or 60 years, still this 9 events of instructions are valid. And this is very important because it is widely used and widely used in everywhere. So 9 events of instruction form a timeless cognitive framework for effective teaching. So it is like a just like a blueprint. So it will have a very systematic designing learning experiences where you have each and everything like instructional constructions, and it is valid from traditional classrooms to e-learning. Take anything from textbook, classroom, or e-learning, take anything, this model of instruction will stays valid. So what are they? Let's see, will have the nine. The first one, gain attention. In the later part of the session, we'll take dive into each and everything. We'll dig deeper, we'll find I'll give examples, whatever we are, we'll go into deeper, but for now we'll take it. The first one is gain attention. The second one is state objectives or inform learners about the objectives. Then you have the stimuli recall. Then you have present content. Then provide guidance. Then elicit performance, provide feedback, assess performance, enhance transfer. So if you listen it like you feel it like, okay, this is all mixture of different words or verbs or anything. But when we go into detail each and everything, you will have an entire idea. So that is candid. Here you can see it is a closed loop of instruction. So what I mean by the closed loop is, okay, this it's better if I discuss at the end of the session, then you can easily able to relate to. Okay, we'll start with the first one, gain attention. So why it is very important to gain attention? Because currently we all know we are in this extreme digital era where irrespective of the age, irrespective of the gender or anything, each and everyone are addicted to some kind of screen time or screen presence or anything. So due to that, our attention span is dropped drastically. I think in the from the last decade or so, it dropped by more than 40% according to some studies. So in this process, it is also affecting the learners also here. So learners are not able to pay attention in the classroom because the natural attention level itself is dropping down. I will show you a graph which holds very true in your classrooms. You can see, let's say we have a 55 minutes of classroom here. Let's say we have the 55 minutes of classroom, and you can see at the 0 minute, that is the beginning of the classroom, the attention is peak engagement. That is 100% attention we have of the learner. I'm talking from the teacher point of view. So it's going on like after 5 minutes and 10 minutes. So you can see the drop. You can see the drop. And after 15 minutes, it is less than 10%. Attention is less than 10%. So doesn't matter like what if you're teaching in very extraordinary subject or extraordinary topic, or you're using all the interesting things or anything. Yes, Manish Kumar, I can see some raising hands. Any questions? Okay. If you have a question, please drop them in the chat box so that we can come back later and resolve those or address those. So you can see the sharp drop after 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So on average, take any classroom after 15 minutes, 1 5, after 15 minutes, you will not get the attention of your students or of your of the learners, because that's the maybe after 5 10 years that will come back to 10 years, that will come down to 5 years, and it's so on like that. So you have to grab their attention in the first 10 minutes. For that, we have to use something to gain their attention. So we have to capture their curiosity. How to capture their curiosity? To capture the curiosity, we have to tell them something that they don't know, but it is connected to the chapter. I'll give some examples. For example, I'm teaching a topic of water or states of water, or water in different states, something related to water topic I'm starting. And in the beginning of the session, that's a day, to capture my learner's curiosity, I'll start with, okay, because typically everyone is available, aware about the computers and the pieces and everything. So typically they will assume, okay, pieces are something that is we have to keep very far from the waters, because they are electrical circuits and water can disrupt them and water can damage them. But I will tell them water can be used in the pieces also. So they will be very curious. Okay, water is something that damages pieces, but you are like a teacher is saying, okay, they can be used at once. Okay, how to use them? How? So this is the curiosity. They will think, okay, how to how it is possible that water is mixing with the pieces. Then I will say, okay, generally PCs are something that use lot of computing power. Because of that, it will generate lot of heat. Typical CPUs are using fans to cool down the heat. But if you see the some gaming systems or anything like that, that will not be able to uh, just by fan or the just by the cooling from the fan will not able to sufficient to cool it down. So we use some other things like a mixture of water and other things. So water is added to cool down the CPUs. So then they will be like, okay, this because they are aware of CPUs, they are going to be they're going to study about the water. So I'm connecting them, and this is something new information for them. So they will be curious to listen. So this is how I have to capture my learners' curiosity in that first 5 to 10 minutes of window that I have. And to do this, I can use some surprising fact and stats. For example, okay, I'm teaching about an melting point or boiling point, that kind of thing, where or I'm the EVS topic where I'm going, okay, human effects on the environment on topic. I'll show islands like Tuvalu or island. I will show that island. I'll say that, okay, they are protesting because they soon they are their island is going to be submerged. Why their island is going to be submerged? I can show the range also. Okay, 10 years ago 30 meters is there, now it is only 20 meters, then future it will be 10 meters or something like that. I'll show the graph. Then in that process, they'll see, and then I'll connect it to the melting of polar ice caps. So this is a very surprising fact or stats also you can give and connect it to the chapter that you have. So other examples include like thought-provoking questions, like those are known as trigger questions. You can connect it to the trigger questions, and then they'll think, okay, what I can get. For example, I'll say, have you ever went to a swimming pool or any vacation where the water is involved or water sports are involved, where they will you will wear a specific orange or specific thing on your thing, like known as a life jacket, and then only there you are allowed to go inside. Okay, what is the use of that life jacket? They'll say some answer, because it will help us to prevent drowning or anything. Okay, what is the difference between your t-shirt or the shirt and that life jacket? Then they'll say, they'll be curious, they don't know the exact answer. I'll say, okay, there's some materials are there, due to this you will float, and that materials are absent in your t-shirt, due to this you will not sorry teachers, there's a technical issue with the camera, please don't mind. Okay, moving on. We can ask them thought-provoking questions or show pics or videos, and then you can start the session. Give puzzles, like especially if you have in a like math-related topic, you can give in mathematical trick questions and all that. So what it happens is the stimulus triggers the reticular activity system, RAS system in the brain. That in that brief time, I want to capture that focus, and I want to divert into such a way that they will learn the particular concept very interesting. So I'll also show some examples that I have this thing. Yeah, you can see. So each and every step of this instruction model will have a cognitive process and also have a purpose for it. So this purpose is to excite the learners, recipients, so that they'll attend to the instruction or attend to the learning process. So here the cognitive process involved is a reception, that their brain is taking this information and then brain is reacting to this thing. So here you can see I have an example also, like attention span of an goldfish is 9 seconds. So this is like a takeaway that you can see. So the attention span is decreasing in such a way. So yeah, this we already covered. So I want to capture in this peak engagement area. So how to capture it? excite the students with a surprise or uncertainty. So you have, so depend, this depends on the grade, this depends on the subject that you are dealing with, depends on the particular school or the area that you are. So there are many factors for it. For example, if you are dealing with the small children, like maybe uh, pre-primary, like grade 1 and 2, then you can excite them with the physical activities. If you are dealing with then 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7, 8 also, there you can ask them the thought-provoking questions, or you can actually or do the activities, very small hands-on activities you can perform in the classroom itself, and then from that activity you can deduce them to the uh, related topic or the concerned topic. Or you can do the icebreaker activity, that is what we discuss. Engaging story is also one of the important interesting thing. So just a second, I have some examples here. Yeah, so these are the stories. So need not to be very elaborative things of stories. It is a very crisp and simple story to start your topic. For example, here you can see character, maybe Rita or someone. So they went to an amusement park. So that is very common place that students go or learners go on a day-to-day basis, where they will see n number of things. They will see different geometrical shapes. They'll see pendulums. They will see big circular things. So from that, they'll ask, okay, father, what is this shape? Or mother, what is this shape? What I can do with this thing? Why it is moving in this direction? Why can't it go to till that point? So they'll ask this kind of questions. So this is very common thing. So we are connecting it very frequent and very common thing and to the chapter, whatever it is. So these are the examples that I have. And the second one that you can see, the mining operation. So the whenever the students are traveling or somewhere, they will see the mountains of soil or mountains of rocks accumulated on the side and everything. So they'll ask, okay, father, what is happening there? So that is a mining area, mining for the coal or mining for the, okay, why the coal is there in the underground? So underground it is there because it is obtained this due to fossil fuels and everything, you can say, and then you can start your chapter fossil fuels. So that is how, from a very common and a very generic situation that can be faced for all the students or learners, and connect taking that incidents or taking that instance and connecting it to the chapter. So this is what happens in the gain attention phase. So you can excite the students with a surprise or activity, or you can ask the thought provoking questions, you can do a icebreaker activity, you can take the engaging story. Yeah, also we have some other examples here. You can see types of forces. So if you are teaching types of forces topic, then uh, you can see, okay, in unloading or loading in any shipping containers or in any cargo terminals, where they will use a huge, they will move huge cranes or huge containers using cranes. So that is possible because they are using some kind of force there. So taking for that kind of examples also, you can start your topic. So here we also have the facial recognition system that is very common nowadays, that they are recognizing by the facial, and then you are doing the attendance, and there are a lot of functions for it. So that is possible because there is a huge system behind it, so that we can connect it. Similarly, we also have such kind of system in our brain, that that way we can connect it to the nervous system. So upcoming technologies or things that happen around ourselves, or stories that happen around ourselves, from that topic you can take and you can connect it to the chapter. So that is what you will do in the first 5-10 minutes to gain attention of your student. This is the first phase or the first event. The second event is state objectives. In this thing, we will connect the objectives. So what are these objectives? Most of you are familiar with the Bloom's taxonomy. This we already covered in our earlier webinar sessions. So the objectives are need not to be a Bloom's taxonomy. It can be, then that's also fine, but it is definitely there is not a mandate to be include the Bloom's taxonomy in the learning objectives, because it has to be very clear for the learners to understand what they are going to do. So rather than giving the technical words, you can keep it conversational. You can connect it with the general things, and you can say the learners, okay, you're continuing to, because the learners will come to the session or the classroom with a blank slate. They will not have anything in their brain. They will not have a structure. They will not have a curriculum framework or anything like that. So it is the instructor responsibility to create the very constructive plan in the student's brain. That is possible once you state what they are going to do in the first. Then you can at the end you can connect it and then say, okay, this is what we are done here. So it's a very important to clear the goals in the beginning, so that they will have, okay, what is the perfect framework in their brain. It will establish a framework in their brain. So yeah, clear goals will give you direction, will give clarity to the students, and to that they can do a focused learning. The purpose of the stating objective is informing the learning they will be able to do at the what they will able to do at the end of the lesson. And it will trigger the expectancy in the student's brain. So they'll say, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to learn, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do, so connecting it. So that will create that expectancy, and they will expect what is they expect what is coming in the next part of the session. So I also have some examples. So yeah, here you can see in this chapter you will, these are very simple, these are the Bloom's taxonomy verbs what we used here. But this need not to be Bloom's taxonomy works, it can be anything. Then if it is BT verb, then it is very well fine. Yeah. So this, why this particular event is very crucial. You will say, okay, this is very simple, this is not even a point of learning or something. Why it is very crucial, why it is a one part of the entire 9 events? Because it will trigger focus, and it will motivate the students to learn. And most importantly, I said the alignment, the instructional alignment. So here they are going to learn what they are going to study in that entire chapter. Then when it is comes to assessment preparation, that is event 8, that is even event 8, and that there we are going to connect these objectives in the assessment or in the question paper. Then next you have a stimulate recall. So we also have a stimulate recall, because it is where you are actually testing. Is the same as learning objective? Yes sir, it is the same as learning objective. So prerequisite knowledge of the learners. Because for simple, I'll give one example. For example, let's take a very simple example of mathematics. Let's say they are studying about grade 5, they are studying 4 operations together. So if you are teaching 4 operations together, you can't directly teach them 4 operations together. Learners should know addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Then only they can learn the 4 operations together chapter. So it is a responsibility of the educator to test or to evaluate whether they have enough knowledge of these 4 things to start this chapter, or this is like a checking the foundation knowledge before actually giving them something known as a new knowledge. So that is what happening here. In stimulate we are checking the prerequisite knowledge or prior grade knowledge. So purpose is to retrieve existing knowledge. Why? There's one more example is like, for example, if you are teaching grade 5 nervous system, let's assume you are teaching grade 5 nervous system topic. To learn the nervous system, students should know from grade 4 what is organ systems. To learn about the organ system from grade 3, they should know what are the different internal and external organs that is there. To know about the internal and external organs from grade 2, they should learn what is a body, what is a how human body exists, what are the human body parts and everything like that. To know that in grade 1, they should learn what are the living and non-living things. So students can't learn directly the nervous system. There is something known as a progression of knowledge. So it is like a step by step they are building their knowledge. So before checking the nervous system, just we have to retrieve the memory from the previous grade where organ systems are discussed. Then they can easily connect to the nervous system. So this is the purpose of this particular event, that is retrieving the existing knowledge and connecting it to the new information. This is like connecting the known to unknown. Then here what is cognitive process that is involved is retrieval. So in retrieval, activating the working, because everyone will have a long-term memory, but we tend to forget things. That's a human nature. Over the course of time, you'll tend to, some memories will be fade out, some information will be paid out. But if you friend or any general conversation, if they say the starting situation or what happened in the day 1 or something like that, immediately everything will be come back to that. So that is known as retrieval. For students also it will happen the same thing. So if you ask the questions, then it will come back from the long term memory to the working memory, so that they can use them in this particular session, and they can understand this better. I also have some examples. Yeah, so this is the progression. Like you can see, each and every chapter that they are learning now is dependent on the previous grade, and each and every chapter that they are going to learn the next time is dependent on these things. So that is the progression of learning. We'll come back to this just a second. Yeah, these are some examples you can see. So before starting the matter or classification of matter or anything like that, they should know what are solids, liquids and gases, because on solid, liquids of matter, that is the states of matter, then the classification of matter comes. So we, before starting the classification of matter, we are checking the prerequisite knowledge on states of matter. So that is possible here. And typically you can also use the questions like can direct questions, true or false, fill in the blank, that you also go. But these are very attentive, and also it's engaging for the students to solve this kind of questions, because student brain loves puzzles. It wants like a web of information, and brain wants to solve that web of information. But if you give a very straightforward question, their brain will not do any work. They will take, okay, straightforward question, I'll give the straightforward answer. So to make their brain actually work, to make their brain work, we have to give information in such a way that it is already digestible information, but it should be like a not direct question. It should have an indirect approach to it. So that's what we have. Instead of asking the direct question, we have some other examples for it, where you can see directly for some images are given, some properties are given, and then they have to distinguish what are solid, what are liquid and what are gases. And solid, liquid, gases, which I already studied in the previous grade with examples, with properties and everything. So now they are recalling it. Once they are recalled and everyone got the answers, and then teacher can go to the next step, that is actually teaching the chapter. What if some students are not able to retrieve, or some students not able to correct answer the questions correctly? Then then it means that there are some students who doesn't have any uh, prior knowledge or prerequisite knowledge to start this particular chapter. So without addressing these students, if you start the chapter, that particular set of students will be left behind. They are not able to catch up to the rest of the students, and they will face a lot of problem, and this will lead to a gap generation. And in this entire learning process, this is how gaps will be generated. And because whatever they studied in this grade act as a foundation in the next grade. So this gap will carry forward. That gap will carry forward. And these gaps are carry forward because based on the school foundation, school knowledge, the higher grades comes. So if there is a gap in this knowledge, the higher grade foundation will be very weak. So this, we have to find the gaps and avoid the gaps. This is how we will find the gaps. Before going to the next chapter, we are checking. If it is not there, then we have to do a recall or recapitulation or revision of the previous grade. Then you can start this thing. In this way, we can avoid the gaps. And gaps are so huge. Even after like maybe masters or anything, still people have confusion between the exothermic and endothermic questions, less than and greater than. And even now there are people who have confusion between the left and right directions. So there may be other reasons also, but this gap plays a role in this kind of things, where you will feel okay, fine, it might not be effective for learning the chapter, but it is. That's why recalling the previous prerequisite knowledge is very important, and this is also included in the stimuli recall event. So why it is essential? Because it is a schema. So it is like a process, what we can say. And it also provides an anchor, because we are connecting it to the known information. If we teach in directly classification of matter, that might not absorbable or might not digestible for the student, but we are connecting it to the existing data that is already digested and already it is there in the student's brain, that is states of matter. So we are connecting this unknown topic to a known topic, and we are teaching. So it is providing like an anchor, and identifies gaps. That's what we discuss. It will identify the gaps, and if gaps are there, and teacher or educator can fill the gaps and move forward. So these are the other examples of quick check, or to recall the prerequisite knowledge. And so you can see we have some images and numbers are there. Then they have to, according to the labels that is there in the image, they have to sort, or they have to write the as per the description. And here they have to name the plant. and color it accordingly. So this is how you can recall the previous thing. And in this process, there are some things like, for example, terminology confusion. So for some students, they'll not have exact idea of what is the terminology that is coming in this chapter. So that terminology is already explained, maybe explained, or without using the term, the explanation already there might be there in the previous grade. But you are going to use that existing term or in this coming chapter. So there is a this gap or the bridge which you have to form. So terminology confusion may come, and misconceptions. If you come to science, there are a lot of misconceptions. So before going into the chapter, if they have any misconception also, you will come to know, and wherever the topic are there, then you can fulfill that misconception with the fact. So this, and if you're talking about the maths, you have a measurement or anything like that, then the dependency or symbols, like if you're going to the force, then the pressure and anything. So they should know what is the pressure symbol and how it is denoted, and what is the formula that you used for the pressure. So everything, that the basic information that they should know before going to the chapter, everything you should recall in this stimuli recall. So these are the some common gaps, common uh, prerequisite thing that you might miss is: one is terminology, second is misconceptions, third is the measurements or the language or the denotion or units, that kind of thing, like technical mathematical thing, and language or the symbols. So if they are clear with this basic prerequisites, then you can go good to start the chapter. Now fourth event in this instruction model is present content. So we already presenting content, that is nothing but teaching or giving information to the students, that as a teacher or as an educator, you are doing it from the ears. But the point is, using the different multi-model or different multi ways you have to teach, because as I said, classroom is a spectrum. You will not have same type of child or same type of children in the classroom. So you cannot use only one instruction model and expect all the students in the classroom to understand that thing. That is not how it's going to work. You have to use this, you have to give the same information in different ways. So that's what the multi-model way is. I'll explain this with examples, then it will be clear. So let's see what is the purpose of this present content. Nothing but giving the new information. This is what you are teaching the content or using this thing. And here focus is very important, because as I said, the student perception will be very huge. With the gain attention, we decreased it and we made it very thin. So we have to keep it in this thin form, so that they will perceive all the information that provided by the educator without any distraction. So this is presented, if you talk about science, through activities. Because if you're teaching something, they might forget after some time. But if you're actually doing something in front of them or asking them to do things, then it will stay with them for the longer time. Memory retention will be higher. This is also known as the experiential learning. Experiential learning is a superior form of the learning. So that is possible through activities. You can say, okay, activities, all activities are not possible to the do at the same thing or something. Some activity can be just if you read the instructions or anything, or watch the videos that is provided, like the digital content. That is also one of the instruction model in the digital content. And then the particular things or observations you can write in the uh, textbook itself. And then from the activity, deduce will come. From the activity, the deduce into the topic, into the content. So we presented content through activity. And you can also present content through image visualization. So same content can be presented in a text format. For example, uh, let's say as a result, if you give me the list of, let us say, a summary or a summary of any chapter or summary of the book in the entire page of a 20, 20 lines or 30 lines, as an adult, I will not be motivated to read the 20 lines at a stretch. How can we expect the students to read the very boring 10, 20 lines of text? So it is not at all, they're not able to read at least. The perceiving information and understand the content, that is entirely different thing. They will not able to do that. So giving information in a bite-sized pieces is very important. And the language is also very important. Language should be simple to complex. let's say I'm explaining the topic of filterization. If I can directly start, okay, this is filtrate, this is residue, and this is the process of filtration, this is the definition, these are the properties involved. So no one is going to remember that. But if I say, okay, you in the text itself, everything is text. So student went out and you saw some mud water or something, you collected the mud water and you brought that and you transferred, you kept aside for some time, then everything will be settled. This is sedimentation. Then you transferred something, so this is decantation. So now you kept a filter paper and you transferred it everything. So you got something down and you got something on the filter paper. This is filtration. So doing it, the language, the way we explain, the way the complexity that we use, so everything comes into play in making the concept understandable for the student. So this is what the bite size pieces. It's need not to be very concrete, like, okay, definition, formula, and there is no absolutely framework for that. You have to make it simple to complex and immediate to remote, so that it is understandable for the student. That's it. And modulation, voice modulation. So where to emphasize a thing, where to go to the high tone, where to go to the low tone, these are very important. And where to use the highlights, where to use the annotations, all this comes into the play. And this is how you can present through activity and visualization and the way we present it. And then the fourth one is tables. Tables are very important because tables will give a very distinct information. Okay, this is entirely one thing, this is entirely one thing. So clear differentiation we will get in the student's brain. That leads to less confusion. If you give in a para format or paragraph or comprehension format, in that, by looking at that information itself raises confusion in the child's brain. But if the same information, if you give in a tabular format, just by looking at that, okay, these are two separate entities, so the confusion decreases. So tabular is one more thing where you can present the information or present the content. And mind maps. Mind maps are also very important because, as I said, if you give me an entire page of something, I cannot read it. Even if I read it, I'm not able to recall each and everything. So forget about the student. But if you give this kind of information in a very flowchart kind of way to student or to me or anyone, then it is very much easy to understand. For example, you can see the mind map that is there in the middle. So this is reproduction of plants. So even for the people who are not from the science background, not at all have any idea about science or any idea about this particular chapter, just by looking at this map, they can say, okay, this is flower, okay, life cycle of flower, okay, this particular four, one, two, three, four, five things are there, five steps are there. So immediately they can understand this concept. And it is color coded also. So you can see orange color coded, blue color coded is also, this is also very important thing. So just by looking at the things, they can get the idea of the chapter, they can get the gist of the chapter. This is how the mind map should be, this is how you have to present your content, so that it is very digestible for the students. And multimedia, using multimedia, first images, then videos, then audio if you add anything, and then last one is activities or activity video. So audio video, through audio video images also we can teach something, and that will have high memory retention than the normal uh, presentation of the content. So all these things are included in the content presentation. That is the fourth stage of uh, instruction model. So let me just take give a quick recap. So in present content, it's not about the content, it's about how you are giving it to the students. That way is very important. So you have to use um, multi-model format, where different things like images, colors, emphasizing on the notes and all these things, how using the language simple to complex, videos, activities, everything will come into the play. That's it. So this is how you present the content. Then we'll go to the fifth step, that is provide guidance. So this empowers the learners by providing the learning guidance. Guidance, okay, I have this question. Can anyone tell me what is this? What is this image? Is it possible to use all this content in a class of 40 minutes? Excellent question, sir. So this will carry at the end of the session. Okay, teachers, any answers like for this particular image? What is this particular image? What is there in this image? What is happening in this image? Construction of buildings, scaffolding. Yes, that's correct. Yes, yes. Yeah, frame, side frame, or anything. So this is not a part of the building, but it is there so that the building construction can happen. So without this, the construction part will not be able to complete. So this is known as guidance. So here the scaffolding is guiding the building or guiding the construction workers or guiding the construction. So it can be anything. So this is how the guidance works. So it is like a providing additional support for understanding as an examples like mnemonics or analogies or meaningful encoding, all these things. So I'll give one example. Like for example, everyone will have their own example for this thing. To remember the periodic table, to remember the periodic table, everyone will come up with their own song or own things. For example, I have this Kati Vikrama Ficonicus, scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, and all that. So each each group will have different things. Each period will have different things. So just to be remembering this particular thing, you can remember the complete 10, 20, 30, whatever the numbers are. You can remember the entire uh, sequence of the elements that is there in the periodic table. This is known as mnemonics. So, for example, VibGeor, the lights. Everyone know the VibGeor. Just by listening to the VibGeor, they will come to okay, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. So that is a frequency. That is then the that is related to wavelength also. So just remembering the VibGeor term, you can connect the what is the dispersion of the light, which or the constituents of the light, or the dispersion of the light. Then you can connect it to the wavelength, like because the red is highest wavelength, violet is least wavelength. The order will be the same, the range will be the same. So just by one word, you can connect it to the multiple terms or multiple concepts. That is known as numeric. So this thing is aiding the students to understand the particular concepts very effectively. And for example, if you say reversible reaction or reversible change or anything like that, we'll use two arrows in the opposite directions. So just by looking at that particular arrow or the instruction, they'll know okay, there it can go in the both ways. Arrows are indicating that way and arrows are indicating this way. Just by looking at that arrow, they will understand it's a reversible change. So images, icons, each and everything plays importance in making the students understand the concept. For example, respiration and photosynthesis. This is a genuine question that I got. So saying that okay, how to differentiate respiration and photosynthesis? Photosynthesis happen in the like sun with sun along with the sun. So you can keep a sun there, and the respiration can happen at the night also. You can keep a small moon icon there. So just by keeping this icon, we are making it as both our entities as separate, and we are giving clear instructions to the student's brain. So what this will do is this is like providing guidance to them. And also one more thing in the biology we have is a uh, deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood. You take any academic book, deoxygenated blood will be in the blue color, but technically that is not accurately, scientifically it is not accurate because all the blood is in red color. But if you give both in the red color, arteries are flowing in red, veins are flowing in red, everything in red, it is create lots of confusion for the student. They'll not able to understand that particular thing. But if you give deoxygenated blood in the blue color, it will create a very clear distinction in the student's brain. Okay, this is no oxygen is there, here oxygen is there. So with due to this clear distinction, they are able to understand the information better. So these all these things are the examples how to provide guidance to the students. Like it can be very small thing or very big thing, but that will able to make them understand the concepts better. Yeah, metaphors, you can connect it to the normal things that is going on. Then mnemonics that are what highlighting features are like for example, affect and effect. Affect and effect are the two things typically in English point of view. People tend to use the other words here and the vice versa. So to do this thing, you can say affect is action. AA. So A is there. So that is the highlighting feature here. A are the highlighting feature. Because of this highlighting feature, they'll remember the entire thing. Okay. Affect is action. Effect is end result. EE is there. So effect is end results. So just by this thing, they'll understand, okay, this highlighting feature, the same letter or same icons or different icons. Due to this features, they will understand the complete idea better or complete concepts better. So worked examples or worked models. Models also you can see that comes under the hands-on activity or hands-on learning. For example, you have the exothermic and endothermic thing. So there are people like you will have lot of confusion between exothermic and endothermic because they both starts with E and with thermic. Like there's not much difference in terms of English. So they'll have this confusion. Okay, how to remember this? So there are people, for example, if you ask a random action reaction and ask them what is the exothermic or endothermic, they will tend to write the opposite. They know the meaning. Okay, it will release the heat, but they will write the endothermic answer there. They know the answer, but they are confused with the terms. So to clear this thing, you can say you can actually perform the experiment in the classroom, or you can ask them to hold two test tubes and drop something in just like water and some other reaction in this thing. And after some time, due to exothermic nature, the heat will be coming out of one test tube, and their students who are holding it them in the right hand, they'll say there is a heat generated in the right hand, but that is not there in the left hand because left hand is only water, right hand heat is coming because there is an exothermic reaction. So exothermic reaction heat is there, then they will never forget what is an exothermic reaction because they experienced it. Because it is a model or worked example, this they experienced it, they'll remember it. So this all these things are not, we are not teaching the technical content here. We are just making them to understand, remember, able to recall them better in the future. So that's what entire provide guidance is. Entire fifth event is for the provide guidance, that is to make them recall the particular concepts. So these are some examples that will help in this particular thing. For example, connecting the topic to the did you know that is happening around themselves, or any fact check or any misconception fact check. All these things are aiding them in that understanding the concepts better. Elicit performance. Here, because we presented knowledge, we gave some tips or tricks or to remember that knowledge. Now we are going to practice the knowledge. And this is what important. The practicing knowledge are linked with the sec second event, that is objectives. So this is what the instructional design, complete design. So in elicit performance, goal is to let the learners do practice with their new knowledge. The purpose is because they have to practice the new skill or knowledge that is acquired in this thing, and they are performing these things. And typically this elicit performance is done with the educator support, educator or teacher support. So you can, in simple terms, you can consider it as a classwork where with the support of the educators or teachers, they are practicing their newly acquired knowledge. And this cognitive process involved is responding, because they are responding to whatever they learned previously. So in the elicit performance, we have some examples here where you can ask some direct questions or anything like that. And this thing, and these questions are, as I said, aligned with the objectives. So that's how you can connect the circle back. So here what will happen is you will identify errors, where they are going wrong, where they are going deviating from the track, and then you can identify that errors and you can correct them. Course correction can be done in this thing because all these things are done in the presence of the teacher or the educator. So you can immediately identify the errors and do the course correction, and this will build their confidence, this will build their fluency, this will build their accuracy in the concept. And this is also going to the active because they are retrieving or responding to the knowledge, so it is like active retrieval is happening here. So that is the sixth one. Then you have a seven, that is provide feedback. So as I said, just whatever you observed in this elicit performance, and then you can provide the feedback, that is very self-explanatory. So you this feedback in such a way that the constructive feedback should be there and affirmation feedback should be there, so that they can correct the errors and feedback should be very there are three types of feedback: immediate, specific, and instructional. If you give an immediate feedback, it will be like a generic and all. So if you give a specific feedback and vague feedback, that it comes under immediate. And if you give a specific feedback, like precise details, where they are going wrong, how they are going wrong, what they do to this thing. And if you give a corrective feedback, then you can give, okay, what are the action that they can do to correct these things. So three types of feedbacks are important, because there will be some time where immediate feedback is appreciated. There are some times where specific feedback is very important. There are times where corrective feedback is considered. So all types of feedbacks are important, depends on the time and depends on the context, what you have, what you're dealing with. You have to give the feedback to the students. So then assessing performance. So here you, this is like you can say it's a formal examination or the formal assessment, because whatever we saw here, the elicit performances, they are doing in the student presence, sorry, teacher presence or educator presence. Then you're providing the feedback, then they are assessing themselves, they are assessing the performance. So this can be considered as a formal assessment or the formal questionnaire, you can say. So here uh, formal and informal methods can be used for this particular thing. Here we are actually evaluating the learning outcomes, what learning outcome for the learning objectives, what we covered in the beginning of the session. For this thing, in this process, we are also assessing their skills, applying concepts or the technical skills or the procedures, their verbal information, the motor skills, because if there is any activity, then motor skills. So each and everything is there. This need not to be performed in the presence of the teacher. This is like a, in simple terms, you can take it as a homework. This is eighth. So here are some examples for it. You have very short or odds questions, higher order thinking skills. Then you can see other some homeworks are there. Here you can see there is an homework for activity. So nothing but homeworks can also be given as activities, so that students can go home and perform this activity, and then bring back or write the results and bring back the models if it is any. And all, and there some puzzles are there, case study, image picture based questions. So you can see all the questions are not like just giving and asking only remembering or understanding level of questions, or just giving asking them to write something or do only writing work. It is also evaluating the skills and improving the skills also. For example, if they solve this particular code, their logical thinking is improving. So here the evaluation of the chapter is happening, skill development is also happening. That is entirely different concept that is already covered in the previous webinar sessions. Please refer to the YouTube links for that previous webinar. In YouTube, it is Next Gurukul. And if you search with the Next Gurukul, you will get all the sessions recorded and they are available right there. And you can always refer to them. So if you have any questions in 21st century skills, please refer to the video. So here, the picture talk, we are developing the problem solving skills. At the same time, the particular sound, I guess it is related to sound chapter. So sound concept evaluation is also being happening. So both things. So that is assess performance. So in assess performance, we can also do something else, like assess need not to be like only written part of question. It can be, I'm just showing the examples of variations of questions that is that you can ask. So here you can see game, snake and ladders, one of the infamous game. But here the concepts are linked to biology, I guess. Yeah, good habits and bad habits. Here you can see, okay, eating good health will make you take the ladder, so that you will get the best health condition. So taking sugar is bad, so it, sorry, taking oil or sugar is bad, so it will lead to cholesterol, and you will come back down like a snake. So we incorporated, this is an example where the biology concepts are incorporated with the snake and ladder game. So this is how things can be asked. So for the students, it will like they will not feel, okay, I'm giving an assessment, or they will not feel I'm giving an exam. They'll feel like, okay, I'm playing in particular game, but evaluation of the concept is being happening. So that's the interesting thing here. You can see one activity for egg related thing. because they can perform this activity at home also, and they can write the learning outcome, and then they can come to the class. They can say, okay, teacher, this is what the we observed in this by performing this activity, and everything they can tell in the classroom. So this can also be used for assessing performance. So this is the last one, enhanced transfer. I know this term looks very odd, not at all connected to particular what you call teaching or scientific thing, but this is very important because this is where we are actually, whatever the knowledge that is acquired by the student or learner, they are applying in the real life context or the new uh, areas or anything like that. Because what's the point of knowledge if you cannot apply it in your day-to-day surroundings or day-to-day things? If you're not able to apply it, then it is no point of having that particular knowledge. So here the goal is to make them apply the knowledge. So make the to help the learners remember the knowledge long term and apply in the new and real life world situation. That is the purpose of it. And here's the generalization, cognitive process that is involved is generalization. So here you can say I have a interesting example here, that is career prospects. Because for example, they studied about let's say digestive system. They liked the particular chapter very much and they acquired very good skills or good knowledge on the chapter, but they don't know how to use them. They don't know how to take this information in the future, how to move forward in this particular direction. They don't know. Then there's big void in that particular area. So that can be filled by career prospect, also known as job aid. You can give job aid, because here we are saying, okay, this particular knowledge you acquired, using this knowledge you can become this in your life. So this is known as job aid or career prospects. So this is how we are enhancing the transfer. And in the beginning of the session, to gain attention, we connected the chapter to the real life world. So once they are done with the chapter, and if they go back and read that thing, everything will be very clear. So that's how you can give the knowledge to the student. I guess it's clear, but let me just quickly recap, and also I have a couple of questions. I will also take that. So 9 events. Yes. Yeah. 9 events. Gain attention. First, you have to gain attention of your learners. Then you have to show them what they are going to learn, learning objectives. Then once you are done with the learning objectives, then you have to stimulate or stimulate recall or bring back the from the prerequisite knowledge or prior grade knowledge. Once you got the prior grade knowledge, then you have to give the new information to the students. So give new information to the students. They'll take the new information, and to make them understand the new information better, you will give guidance. Once the guidance is done, then you will do the elicit performance. That's like a practice. Once practice is done, you will give the feedback to that practice. Once you are done with the feedback, you will make them to assess their performance. Once their performance is done, then all this particular thing, all the 8 steps, they are gaining knowledge, and that knowledge last they will apply in the real life situation. That is an enhanced transfer. So this thing, yeah. So as I got one question, yeah. Yes, this particular thing is very broad or all these things. Yes, but it is very much possible to fit in a 40 minutes classroom or 40 minutes session, because you have to plan it. You have to have a manual for it. You have to take the entire chapter, divide them into sessions so that it will fit into this particular instruction model. The planning is required. If planning is there, then yes, it is definitely possible to fit in the 40-minute session. Here we at Next Education, we are already implementing this, and we are getting a very good results for this implementing this instruction methods in the 40 minutes time period. So with experience, we can confidently say that it is very much possible. And any other questions?